again, this is Maisha Williams again, founder of STEM Girls Social Network. We are here today with Jessica Williams, who is the We STEM co-facilitator at 1871 in Chicago, one of the world's largest incubators. And she is also founder of Tech Biz Girl. In a former life, she was a network engineer. So hopefully she'll tell us a little bit about her journey and why it's important for more women to enter STEM. So Jessica, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your educational background?
Yeah, for sure. I have to tell a little bit of a story for how I got into STEM in the first place because I was not destined for that path. I was pre-med when I was in high school, and I was convinced I was going to be a doctor. I wanted to be a pediatrician, and so in high school I just focused on math and science. And so when I applied to college, I picked the pre-med track, but when I started college and actually started my freshman year, I was kind of like, oh my God, I cannot do this for, I don't know, 12 years or so. The bio class, I thought I was going to fail. It was just not a good experience. And so it was kind of a wake up call for me to figure out that I didn't want to be in biology, but I didn't know what else I wanted to do. And so that was really like, I don't know of any other careers. I'm kind of stuck. And so I talked to my academic advisor, and he basically said, well, you have an internship. And at the time I had an internship at a tech consulting company. And so he said, well, what about computer programming? Didn't know anything about it, decided to give it a try. And so I took it as an elective. The first class I took was Visual Basic, loved it. And so I said, okay, great, I'll be a computer science major. And so I took the next class, which was Java. And I liked it, but not as much because I realized that I was in the lab all the time. Like every free period, every after school, before school, I was coding and I was not liking it. And so it was kind of a decision factor for me because like I like the tech stuff, but I don't want to be in front of a computer all day. So what do I do? And so I did some research and talked to some people, and I found this other major because I went to Loyola for college. I found this other major that was called Information Systems, which was a nice blend of business and technology. And it was kind of explained as, the person that translates from the business side to the tech side and can really translate like business requirements into tech requirements and vice versa. And so that seemed like a great fit for me. And that's kind of how I got into the IT field in college. And then I stayed there for grad school and got my master's in information systems management.
Awesome, awesome. So can you tell us a little bit about your career after college?
Yeah, so at the same company I was at, I actually, during my high school and college years, I pretty much worked in marketing. But once I got the IT bug, I kind of started trying to figure out which path I wanted to take. And at the time, we had about 3 groups going on for the IT side. I could be a desktop person and fix PCs and configure them and all that kind of stuff, or I could do server work, or I could do the network work. And the network work is what appealed most to me. There was a project going on at the time for Chicago Public Schools, and it was basically putting in wireless access points and upgrading their switches, basically improving their network connectivity. And that was something I really wanted to be a part of. And I started reading up on systems equipment, and I actually started studying for my CCNA certification right before I finished my undergrad career. And that was pretty awesome that I was trying to get my certification to be, on the team with all these guys that were already working on the project. And so the timing worked out so that by the time I finished my undergrad career, SDI, who is the company I worked for at the time, they offered me a full-time position as a network technician to work on that project I wanted to work on. So that's how I got into networking. And then from there, I pretty much worked there for another, I don't know, 8 years. The total was about 15 when all is said and done. And I worked various jobs on that Chicago Public Schools project I worked on. I kind of did the network stuff, and then I graduated to the wireless stuff because wireless was taking off at the time. So I was starting to get certifications in wireless and design and security, all the network things. And once the Chicago Public Schools project ended, I was able to work for the Chicago Transit Authority. We had a couple projects there. One, we actually put wireless wireless access points out in the rail yard so that people could do maintenance on trains a lot easier, and they could do it from a handheld device, and they could automatically translate to the wireless access points in the field. That was one project. And then later on, I was able to manage the network support team over there, basically handling all of the remote locations for CTA, including the bus garages and rail stations, and basically managing all the Cisco gear for that. Should I go on past STI, you think, Maisha?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I'll keep going. So once I actually got laid off from STI, and then I was looking for another job. And luckily, one of my colleagues connected me with an open position at McCormick Place, basically being the supervisor for the infrastructure there. And it's essentially taking care of all of the network wireless gear, stuff that I was familiar with, but in a different industry for events and hospitality and conventions. And so luckily I was not unemployed for long. I kind of got that job within about 2-3 months. And so I started there in 2013 and I started managing that team. I managed maybe three full-timers and about 5-6 part-timers, depending on the year. And so we basically handled all of McCormick Place's internet needs, wired, wireless. We essentially got their internet orders from the sales team and configured everything. We made sure that everything was working before they got there. And then we worked with the show management, with the exhibitors, to make sure that their internet was working the way that it should when they got on site. And most recently, I actually left McCormick Place, and now I'm at 1871, and that was a leap for me. It was kind of an opportunity I couldn't pass up. It was my dream job. One of my good friends, Nicole Yeary, who runs Miss Tech, she was already there as a co-facilitator of the WISDOM program, which is 1871's program for women tech entrepreneurs. And she said that they needed a co-facilitator, and she asked if I'd be interested. And I was like, hell yeah, I'd be interested, you know. And so I just, you know, it worked out. You know, I went for an interview. It went really well. They offered me the position, and it was like, this is my dream job. I can't really pass it up. So now I've been at 1871 for about 3 months.
Okay, awesome, awesome. And I know you also have a venture called Tech Biz Girl.
Yes.
Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so Tech Biz Girl actually started about, almost 5 years ago now. I went to this conference. You know, I was on an account. I was burnt out. I was looking for inspiration. I felt like I should be doing more in the world. I'm sure you guys can identify with that. And I went to this conference. It was called Spark and Hustle. And it was a conference for aspiring entrepreneurs and established entrepreneurs. And it was really just about building and growing companies. And it was all women, which was pretty awesome. And so I didn't really have a business idea, but I went because I wanted to be inspired, and I figured it'd be good energy. And it was amazing. It was incredible. It was like 3 days of just girl power. And, you know, it was kind of there that it was then that actually social media for business was taking off. And so, you know, just in having conversations with women about like setting up a Facebook page and setting up a Twitter page and getting a website set up and all this kind of stuff, I kind of realized that they were struggling. They were super overwhelmed. They didn't think they could possibly learn the technology that they needed to do these things to get their businesses off the ground. And they were so confused and they didn't know where to start. And most of all, I think a lot of them felt that they couldn't do it just because it was technology, you know, which I didn't like at all. But it was kind of an awakening for me, because it's like I had been there at some point, and I realized that these women really needed help. And I was like, okay, I know I'm not an expert at this stuff, but I know things that can help them. And that's kind of where the idea was born. It's like, I want to make it approachable and practical and fun for them so that they can learn how to do it themselves, and so that they feel like they can do it. Not that they have to do it, but that they can do it. And so, and actually that was early April, and the timing worked out well because I was about to turn 30. And I was like freaking out because I was about to turn 30, and I figured I'd have my life figured out by then, and that wasn't the case. That wasn't the case. And so it was like, I really wanted to do something awesome to celebrate my 30th birthday. And so the timing worked out so that I started the blog a week before my birthday. So we kind of celebrate our anniversaries in the same month. And yeah, I wrote my first post, I think, about Twitter. And ever since then, it's just kind of like me writing posts about technology and things that inspire me. And ever since then, like people have been coming out for support and they're just so excited and they want to help. And so, you know, I just kept blogging and kept spreading the word. And a lot of times, you know, women would say, well, how did you start your blog? And how did you start your MailChimp list? And then I started helping them do that. And so I started, you know, putting myself out there as like IT for hire for a little bit. And ever since then, I've been trying to kind of take a step back and like refocus on what is my sweet spot. And I'm still trying to figure that out. And I'm hoping that, you know, being at 1871 and being surrounded by other entrepreneurs will help me. But I think what I really like to do is help women get unstuck, because a lot of times they're overwhelmed. They just don't know what to do next. And they just need somebody to kind of make order from the chaos. And so I think that's where I want to focus going forward and, you know, help them with some of the first things that they need to do, like, you know, their first mailing list. It doesn't have to be designed, you know, like up the wazoo or whatever. It just has to be started. You can keep it simple. So, you know, trying to help them get started so that they have the confidence to move on.
Great, great. Sounds awesome. You had an amazing career so far. So the last piece of parting advice, I guess, I believe is very important for more women to enter STEM fields. And I know you've had an extensive career in technology. What advice would you give for girls who are looking to enter the technology field or think it may be an option?
Well, I think part of it is some girls don't even know it's an option. And so what I try to do, what I encourage other women to do, is kind of get out there and show yourselves to these girls, just to show that, you know, I could be a computer programmer. I could be a salesperson that sells technology equipment. I can, all these different roles. Like I can go out there and say, I've done networks and I've done wireless. And a lot of times people, women, they don't know that these careers exist, that there's other options for them. So I would say, you know, first of all, kind of do some research. If you're interested in it, I would say absolutely start with a coding class. I think a coding class is like the first step, because whether or not you become a computer programmer, I think coding, you know, teaches like really great skills. Like it teaches you the ability to problem solve, and you get used to failing. I mean, really, you write a code and it doesn't work and then you have to figure it out. Like good problem solving, good failing. And you kind of learn how to research. You learn how that you might not know the answer, but you know where to go to find the answer. And I think it teaches all those great skills, and it teaches you confidence, because at the end of the day, you can say, I created something that wasn't there before and that works. And then you get this, you know, this amazing feeling of accomplishment. So I think that's a great place to start. But then also be aware of all these other fields out there, like networking for one. You could do security, you could do wireless, you could do desktop support, you could do server. Like there's so many options out there. So I think it's about maybe taking that first step to see if it's something you're interested in, but then also maybe, you know, doing some research. If you see somebody that you like, or you know, that has a career that you like, see if you can follow them around for a day, or see if they can give you like a day in the life, because a lot of the times what we think of when we think of these careers is not as glamorous as it actually is. So it's really cool to kind of get an idea of what they do day to day. You know, like I remember when I worked at McCormick Place, I went to a lot of meetings, you know, in a day. They might, you know, a lot of people might not think that, but I had to go to a lot of meetings. And yes, I managed and I did technical stuff and all that kind of stuff, but I had to go to a lot of meetings. I had to manage a lot of projects. And so it's really good to figure out like what actually happens in that day to day, and just, you know, experiment. Like, you know, if there's something you like, technology, whatever, just give it a try. See if you like it. Maybe you like pieces of it. And then ultimately it's about figuring out what makes you tick, and then figuring out what career that you can kind of piece together. Especially now, you can pretty much create your own career. Just put all those things in there that you like, that you're good at, and that, you know, will help you succeed.
Well, thank you so much. That was an amazing,
You're welcome.
That was really helpful. Thank you for sharing your journey. I hope that it inspires someone, and I always look forward to speaking with you, and thank you so much.
Thanks, Maisha. Good night.